Hey travelers, Mag, I, and Inextricable Fate here on day 200...
240.
240? 240 of our trip around the United States. Now, last night, I think something strange happened. We were driving through Death Valley, looking for a place where we could get to sleep for the night, and then we're here, in the deserts of Nevada. And I don't know what happened to us last night, but what I do know is that we are 40 miles outside of Death Valley on a place that was nowhere on our agenda, and we were not coming anywhere near here. And we are not going to be deterred either. We are going to go back into Death Valley and finish this last day of California. We have 210 miles to cover for our route today as we make our way out of Death Valley, south to the edge of Nevada, once again, where we want to be, and into Las Vegas. But with us being out here in the middle of the desert of Nevada already, we've got more like 250 miles to cover. I guess it is what it is. We're gonna head in to Death Valley this one last time, and then we are really done with California until we come back in June. I am ready to take this thing on, and I am ready for one last day on the road. You ready to strike this thing down?
Ready.
Let's do it. Come on, let's go. We find ourselves awakening in the strangest place, Amargosa Valley, situated between Beatty and Las Vegas. On both sides of the street, gas stations mirror each other as if out of a parallel universe, and fireworks are for sale right next to a souvenir-themed gift shop full of Alienware, guarded over by local denizens. Many of the locals that we came across were friendly enough, and some were just a bit too playful for our taste. But it seemed like no matter which direction we turned, there were still more locals to greet us, whether standing out in the front of a local business or waiting behind closed doors. Since we already found ourselves in the middle of this lonely town in the desert, far away from where we needed to be in Death Valley, presumably near Area 51, we decided to have a look inside the local Alien Center, which was adorned with teas, shot glasses, stickers, and other alien trinkets. It did provide us a little solace to know that we were likely not the only travelers who had been displaced to this location in the desert. Whether waking up in the middle of a field or a colorful house, we are just happy we woke up at all. There is certainly something suspicious going on here in Amargosa Valley, and I think the aliens are at the heart of it. While I did particularly care for the artwork and the accommodations we had last night, I'm still only giving this place a 1-star review. It doesn't even have a roof. As a silver lining to finding ourselves this far outside of the boundaries of the national park, which is filled with only virtuals and earth caches, we discovered that there were many geocaches on the map to be found. We each took turns making some finds on our way back toward California, I-chan joining in the action as well.
Great to have a geodog on the trail.
It is always best to start our morning with a walk, so these geocaches provided just that, giving us not only a few quick park and grabs, but a few strolls out in the desert as well. Satisfied that we had added our names to an adequate amount of logbooks for the day, we prepared ourselves for the long drive back into Death Valley. Driving anywhere in this area of California requires maneuvering between various mountain ranges. Coming out of Amargosa Valley in Nevada and dropping back into Death Valley in California, we passed through the Basin and Range province, which is characterized by abrupt changes in elevation. We dropped and climbed and dropped again as we made our way through Jubilee Pass ever closer to Death Valley. It is an odd feeling, dropping from a height of several thousand feet down to sea level and even lower, with towering mountain ranges above you. And our ultimate destination in the park today is Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America with a measured depth of 282 feet. This is severely contrasted by Mount Whitney, only 84.6 miles away as the highest point in the contiguous United States. Driving through the barren landscape of one of the hottest places in the world, it is hard to imagine that peoples have lived here as far back as 7000 BC. Native Americans came and went through the generations, and more recently, the Timbisha occupied the area as late as 1000 AD. It has not fared very well for more recent settlements. Several short-lived boomtowns sprang up during the late 19th and early 20th centuries to mine gold and silver, but they disappeared once again. Only the borax mined in this area proved to be profitable in the long term, making it worthwhile to take on this harsh habitat day after day. It was a long drive to get here. Let's see if I-chan wants to get out and explore with us.
Oh, she is ready to go. You ready for a walk? All right, let's go have some fun. Here we go, huh? Yeah.
Our entire adventure in the park today takes place between Ashford Junction and Furnace Creek, beginning with the Artist's Palette. The rocks that comprise Artist Drive formations are some of the most colorful in the entire park. The earth cache in the middle teaches about the oxidation of various trace minerals that produce the colors. The drive to and from the Artist Palette takes place along Artist Drive, a one-way paved road that winds up an alluvial fan and then dips up, down, and around the various ravines within the fan. This is a serious contrast to most of the driving through the Badwater portion of the park, as you are driving on mostly level roads between the mountain ranges down below sea level. This 9-mile drive is one of the most popular scenic drives in the park, winding through multicolored eroded hills. And delving even further into those earth caches, we learned that the colorful rainbow hills of Artist Drives were once formed by volcanic deposits of different compositions. We have seen many forms of natural beauty on our tour of Death Valley National Park, but if pressed, I would have a hard time naming which spot has been my favorite. I would say, however, that the drive to and from the Artist Palette is one of the most memorable places you can drive in the national park. Whether or not you choose to hike the canyon trails at the Artist Palette, you should certainly plan to take the 9-mile one-way drive just for the scenery alone.
We made it for the entire point of today. Spread out behind us is Badwater, the lowest point elevation in North America. Obviously, we're not at the lowest point right now, but going down into the salt flats you see behind us, that is as low as you can get without going to the Dead Sea, of which Inextricable Fate here has been on a previous occasion.
The site is named for a small, spring-fed pool of water next to the road in a sink. The sheer volume of accumulated salts in the surrounding basin make the water undrinkable, giving it the title Badwater. Despite that, the pool does have several animal and plant species that thrive within it, including the pickleweed and the Badwater snail. The pool itself is not actually the lowest point of the basin. The true lowest point is several miles to the west, which changes position depending on rainfall and evaporation patterns. Attempting to cross over the salt flats, though, can be quite hazardous, as in many places there's only a thin white crust over the mud. To make access significantly easier and prevent tourists from making a hike across the mud flats, the sign for the lowest elevation remains next to the pool. I, for one, cannot think of a better way to end our tour of Death Valley than with a trip into Badwater Basin to visit the lowest point in the contiguous United States before we pop out of California.
And that is it for our time spent in Death Valley National Park. We really just had to make sure that we got out here today to visit Badwater in the Badwater Basin, which is the lowest point in the continental United States. And we got down to a 282 foot below sea level elevation while we were here. Not too bad. Now we are going to finish the last 2 pages we have remaining in California as we make our way out of Badwater, through Good Springs, and eventually into Las Vegas. Let's see how far we can get before that daylight fails us yet again.
The remainder of our route for the day would see us rising out of Death Valley, through the Amargosa Range, past the small town of Shoshone, and eventually into Tecapa. From there, we would still have hundreds of miles of desert to cross as we made our way steadily south toward Baker. That is not to say that we were bored on this long stretch of road through the desert, though. If there is one thing we have come to expect when traveling through this region, it is that the desert has beauty to offer in many forms in each direction that you look. And every time we would clear the bend from a mountain range, we would find a new range waiting in the distance to greet us. These looming mountain ranges help to guide the way out of the lonely deserts of California and toward the shining lights of Las Vegas, treating us to one more sunset over the California skyline.
And that is it. We have completed Southern and Central California. Right now we find ourselves in Tecapa, looking out in Death Valley, which we just escaped from after 2 days exploring, and we're now headed on our way to Vegas. We only have 1 page left to officially finish all of the pages in this portion of California, with the exception of 89, and all we need to do is come around, back down to the freeway, and back in toward Nevada. The thing is, from where we are now, it's a 2-hour drive. So by the time we get there, that sun will have set and this day will be over. I had a great time exploring Death Valley National Park yesterday and today. What was your favorite part?
Painter's palette was pretty cool. A lot of different colors out of the mountains.
All the greens and
Blue, green, blue,
purples,
yellow, red.
blues. That was quite beautiful. For me, I enjoyed Badwater because getting to the lowest place and seeing all the water sitting there with that salt content in it was pretty great. And there were a ton of people out there kayaking and wading through the water as well, which maybe without iChun we would do, but probably not unless there's a geocache telling us we need to get out there on a kayak, am I right? For the next 2 days, we will be staying in Las Vegas, once again with my brother, No Man's Land, and getting ready for the next stage of our adventure, as we begin our way east, once again, to finish off the states that we left behind on our run south to avoid winter. Thank you guys for joining us on our tour of Death Valley. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.